Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Beltran and I'm the health educator at the Wellness Center. Welcome to USFSP. I'm actually here to talk to you a little bit about some of the choices that you make at college and how your choices can either make our campus safe and welcoming or someplace where people feel like no one has their back. So first of all, I want to really talk about preventing crime on campus and how you can help do that. There are a few ways that you can be a really effective bystander, and there's actually 5 steps that I want to go through with you that you can use to help someone else in need. And it's really important. I know when I go over the steps, they're going to sound like common sense, but really if someone misses one of the steps, it's more likely that you're not going to give any help to someone when they need it. And I know that we all want to be someone who's helped when we need it. So the first step is notice the event, and that sounds like a really duh thing. Of course you want to notice what's going on around you, but actually for most of us, noticing the event is the hardest thing out of the 5 steps to do. So sometimes noticing the event is hard because we're usually distracted. So if you look down Harbor Walk at any moment, you'll see people on their phones, texting, talking, not paying attention to what's going on around you. So you want to really be aware of who's in front of you, who's behind you, anything that's going on around you, because that's really going to help you if someone needs help. The second step is to actually interpret what's going on as a problem. Sometimes it's a little iffy, like you don't know if people are fighting, if there's a problem going on. Do they know each other? Is it something that you need to be concerned about? Don't be afraid to ask. It's really up to you to investigate what's going on. And if you see something that you think and in your gut you know is not quite right, figure out if it's a problem. Ask people around you, and don't hesitate to ask and bring other people in. Sometimes people don't even know what's going on because they, one, haven't noticed the event. So maybe other people don't look very concerned, but that doesn't mean that something wrong isn't going on. The third step is to assume personal responsibility. And that really means that if it's not you, then who is going to step in and help? Don't rationalize away things that are happening in front of you simply because you think it's not any of your business or you don't want to impose on someone. Think about if it were happening to you. You'd want someone to help, and you'd want someone to assume personal responsibility in that situation. Step 4 is actually know how to help. You've been going over resources nonstop and places that you can go on campus. You can always call UPD, you can call the Wellness Center, you can call the victim advocate Mandy Hines, an RA, any staff member. Really, there's no place that you can't go to get help. And know some real skills that you can implement, like first aid and CPR. Campus Rec actually offers classes on campus to get CPR and first aid certified. And UPD offers RAD training, which is rape aggression defense, so that you know how to defend yourself and have the skills that you need to protect yourself and others around you. And step 5 is to actually implement the help. Step up and do it. Always be the first. Sometimes we look to other people to be a leader, but we're all leaders here at USFSP. So don't hesitate to actually step up and help someone. Be the first. So maybe you're not a bystander, maybe you're actually in the situation yourself, and there's some things that you can do to reduce the risk and help yourself out in case you need it. The first one is the buddy system, and that sounds like the big juvenile, yes, we've done it since we were 5. But especially if you're new on campus in the St. Pete and you don't know the area, you really need to let someone know where you're going, have some phone numbers handy, and make sure that someone is with you and knows when you're going to leave, when you're going to enter, all those sorts of details. The buddy system is really your best bet in making sure that someone knows where you are. So another step is to watch your alcohol intake. A lot of students don't realize that the #1 date rape drug is actually alcohol. Anytime you hear about a sexual assault occurring, one or both parties have been drinking. So if you're under the age of 21, know that you legally cannot drink, but if you are of age or underage and you still choose to drink, do it responsibly. We have a lot of resources that you can use, Alcohol EDU. We've got our self-help resources section on the Wellness Center website that you can use to learn some tips on how to drink responsibly, what blood alcohol content looks like, and how to help someone that you think may have alcohol poisoning. Make a plan with a friend, and this really goes beyond using the buddy system. You can always say to your roommate or your best friend or your partner, if in the case that we end up getting separated in a club, or if you see someone hitting on me or dancing with me, pull me aside or ask if I want to go to the bathroom, or just take me out of there and I'll do the same for you. Making a plan doesn't necessarily have to be all heroic. It can be something as simple as just coming to someone's side if they're alone. And simple things like always walk in well-lit areas, make sure that you don't have your headphones on too loud. Simple things that you can do to make sure that you stay safe. And have the victim advocate's number and UPD's phone number programmed into your phone. A lot of students said that they were really happy that they had the phone numbers already in their phone, even though they didn't need to use them their first 2 or 3 years in campus. So it's always just something safe and something really smart to do. And finally, trust your gut. Your gut always lets you know when something is not right. If you know that someone's been calling you nonstop or texting you rude things or leaving really threatening social media messages, maybe they pop up places that you didn't expect them to be, trust your gut, and you probably know that something isn't right. And if that behavior becomes really threatening, and only you know when that behavior can be really threatening to yourself, report it. That's what USFSP, we want people to do, is to report behavior when they feel threatened, or especially if you've been the victim of sexual misconduct. And there are actually a number of ways that you can report. Publicly, you can report to UPD, any one of our police officers, or you can call 911. Yeah. And what ends up happening when you publicly report is that they will create a report that is publicly available. Privately, you can contact any USFSP staff, faculty, or employee, and we really encourage you to report to someone that you trust. You can report to an RA, and you can report to any Res Life staff member. If you're a student, you can report to the Office of Student Conduct. If you're an employee, you can report to the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equal Opportunity. And there are actually a number of confidential places that you can go to report. You can use the silent witness form on UPD's website, and you can use that actually if you see something happen or you yourself are the victim of a crime. That is completely anonymous and it's on their website. You can report to any staff member at the Wellness Center. It's completely confidential and it will not end up on any sort of record on campus. And finally, you can also report to the victim advocate. Now, in most cases, the victim advocate will let the director of the Wellness Center know that she's been contacted and any information that she feels is necessary to share. But in any case, none of that information will go beyond the Wellness Center. Now, there are some limits to confidentiality. If a child or an elder was involved, or if the victim or survivor is at risk of harming themselves or other people, we do have to let other people know according to mandatory reporting laws. So that's all for me. I really hope that your time here at USFSP is a happy one, and I really hope that everyone feels like they now have the skills to make the campus a safe, warm, welcome environment for anyone to be on. So remember that we need everyone's help on campus, whether you're transfer, whether you're FDIC, whether you're an upperclassman or grad student, in making this a place where everyone feels like everyone has their back.
Hi there, my name is Jacob Diaz, and I serve as the Dean of Students here at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg. And I'm here to talk to you about two important things. The first is support services available to you should you find yourself a victim of sexual assault or know someone who's in fact a victim of sexual assault as well. We have a comprehensive wellness center here on campus that provides both health services as well as psychological services to our entire student body. They also will serve as a confidential resource for you in this particular situation. Second, we have a victim's advocate who is on contract but who is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week should you need it. And her name is Mandy Hines, and her contact information is available on our Wellness Center website. Another important resource for you is our University Police Department. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and as such are a resource for you should you find yourself a victim of sexual assault at any point in time here on campus. Another important item for you to know is that we do our very best to protect the confidentiality of all of our victims of sexual assault here on campus. And how we do that is a number of ways. One, like I mentioned, is you can contact our wellness center, contact our victim advocate, and they will serve as a confidential resource for you. Should you at any point in time, after reporting your incident, desire to pursue our university student conduct process, your name will no longer be held confidential as dictated in our student code of conduct for the system. But we will do our best to, again, protect the privacy of your information. But should you enter our student conduct process, there will be a subtle change to our ability to keep your information confidential. Aside from that, we will keep your information private and work to provide the appropriate sources of support for you.
Hi, my name is Heather Klishnan and I oversee the student conduct process here at USF St. Pete. I wanted to share with you a little bit about what happens in the case of a situation of a violation of our code of conduct. Basically, the process is that someone will report that something has happened, and we will look into and investigate the information that we've received. We make sure to follow due process. That means that all of our students who are allegedly involved in a violation of the student conduct have an opportunity to share their perspective on what happened. So when an administrator gets information that you are involved in a violation or a possible violation, we will send you what's called a come see me letter. That letter will ask you to come and meet with someone to talk about the situation so that we're not just basing our information off of the report that we get or other people's information, but the student has an opportunity to share their perspective of what happened regarding the situation. In sexual assault cases, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to share what has happened, but you will work with a Title IX investigator prior to the student conduct process. We try to make sure that the victim shares the story the least amount of times as possible in order to make sure that they're as comfortable as possible and do not have to relive the incident over and over again. After the initial review meeting, a decision is determined whether or not a violation has actually occurred. If a student is charged with a conduct violation, they will receive the formal charges plus sanctions that go along with that charge. If there is no charge, they're found not responsible, and everything just ends there. If there is sanctions that go along with the charge, they could be anywhere from a warning to an educational sanction up to expulsion. Sexual assault cases typically lean towards the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to the severity of the sanctions given. Our process is very educational as opposed to punitive, so we do not implement any fines unless there's restitution needed for a particular case. All of our investigators are trained specifically on student conduct and how to hold those typical types of hearings. And so we make sure that annually everyone receives training. So particularly with sexual assault cases that tend to be a little bit harder than other cases, we have the right professionals in place to help students through those processes. As a USFSP bull, the jurisdiction for our office is just that. It is not the borders of our campus, but if you are a student, you are part of our jurisdiction. We have no limitation if something happens downtown, back home, on another campus, anywhere. If we hear about it, it can go through our process. Student conduct is a completely separate system than any criminal courts that you might be involved in. A lot of times crimes to extreme natures are going to have cases that are civil or state crimes, as well as a violation of our student code of conduct. They are two separate processes. So we try to help students understand that those processes may be going on at the same exact time. We do not stop the student conduct process because another process is taking place. One thing that is important to note is that we use a different code of standard than you're going to use in a civil or criminal case. We use preponderance of evidence with this 50% and a feather. If it's more likely than not that a student was involved in a violation, then they are going to be held responsible for that. When our office is working with victims of sexual assault and the alleged perpetrators, we make sure that all parties involved receive information at the same time. During a regular conduct process, we let both parties know what's going on at the same exact time so that any alleged victim will be aware of the results of the perpetrator's cases.
Hi, my name is David Henry. I'm the Chief of Police at the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg, and I wanted to bring to your attention some important information about the Violence Against Women's Act, particularly related to reporting crimes and other resources that we can make available to help you. The first thing that you should know is that the University Police Department is well positioned to respond to any needs related to the crimes related to VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, particularly the domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, harassment, even cyber stalking. If you needed any assistance, you can always reach out to the University Police Department. You should know that we will be positioned there to help you in terms of how to report the crime and how to investigate and how to assist you with resources. The first thing you should know is that we're very concerned about preserving evidence. When you call to report it to the police department, we'll provide you some information that addresses issues of preserving evidence, particularly not destroying things, not throwing things away, not contaminating things that might be considered part of a crime scene, and things of that nature. We'll share some very specific instructions to you when you call the police, particularly in terms of who you might report such an incident. You should know that there are a number of confidential sources on campus, including the Wellness Center and the counseling services. If you decide to report it to the police, you also can report it anonymously. But what we hope you do is you'll report it to the police so we can investigate and assist and connect you to resources that will be helpful for you. That's our main priority here at the police department. So preserving evidence is important. You should know how to report it. You can call directly here to the police department and reach out to us. And as I mentioned, there are confidential sources you can go to report it as well. One of the things that we would be able to provide you for in terms of assistance is victims' rights information. As a person reporting any of these crimes, you have certain rights. And you should also know that there are avenues to help you in terms of this particular crime and who might have allegedly committed the crime. What we can do is provide you assistance in terms of connecting you to a victim advocate, to the Wellness Center for counseling, but also we can connect you to the court system in terms of obtaining protection order or domestic violence injunction order. And so we have information at the police department and also on our website that will provide you the resources to do that. In addition to that, you should know that there are sanctions that are in place on campus when these kinds of incidents are investigated. And some of the sanctions allow for us to separate the two parties. If you were living on the same floor of a residence hall, for instance, and you requested some assistance in some separation from the other person, we can assist in doing that. We work with the Dean of Students and the residence halls folks to accomplish that. In addition to that housing change accommodation, there can be classroom changes and other things that are all designed to provide resources and assistance to you. I also wanted to take this opportunity to mention to the campus community various resources and programs that are available, as well as training that officers receive at the University Police Department. At UPD, we train all of our officers in safe zone training, and what that allows the officers to do is have a better understanding of issues confronting the LGBTQ community so that we can better respond to needs and to provide resources and assistance. As well, we make various educational programs available to the campus, particularly the RAD program, the Rape Aggression Defense Program. We have programs available for both female students and male students, and the RAD program is offered every single semester. It's a great personal defense program. As well, there are a number of programs that are offered through the residence halls, both to staff and members of the community. This is all part of our effort to ensure that the USFSP campus community is a safe one. So what I tell you is that there are a number of resources on campus. You could report things confidentially. You can seek out assistance anonymously. You can go to the Wellness Center website or the Police Department website. We have a wealth of information to answer lots of your questions during such a difficult period. But you should rest assured that the Police Department is here and prepared to help you, both in terms of investigating the incident, but helping you as well in the recovery. Thank you.